welcome to another part of my deep dive into the ACOTAR series. This is when we're starting to have chapters that have no relevance in what we are looking for and will probably not be mentioned. We're looking for chapters and we're looking for potentially anything that's going to help us answer the questions that we are trying to look for. If you don't know what we're looking for, go to Before the Dive or other chapters. Chapter 6 to Chapter 10, page 47 to page 49. I'm using the ACOTAR paperback 2020 edition. So ACOTAR, yeah, okay. Here we go. Chapter 6. Feyre is kind of annoying. I want to be honest. She both wants to go get food and also refuses the food to the point in which, in Chapter 7, she is magically restrained so she will finally eat food. She doesn't immediately leave because she wants to go get food and the horse won't leave. And I'm like, what? Okay, basically, Tamlin, that's his name. It gets revealed in Chapter 7. He goes inside, she's outside, she's on the horse that she came here on. It won't move, and so instead of leaving there and then, she decides she's gonna go inside, have some food, but then when she goes inside and sees the food, she doesn't eat it because it might be enchanted. So what was the entire point of going inside and getting food? When she goes inside, she sees the beast is now transformed into a lovely fairy. He is a blonde guy, and he is wearing a mask. We are introduced at that point, shortly after, to another gentleman. He has red hair. He's wearing a fox mask. After this, we are going to be introduced to a lady, a woman. Her name is Alice, and guess what she's wearing? She's wearing a mask, and why am I not wearing this mask is because my glasses and the lighting in this room does not work well together, but mask. So basically all the fairies that she has seen so far in the spring area, that is spring due to magic that she quickly realizes because of magic why it's no longer winter here. I'm going to blend 3 conversations together that happens over 2 chapters, but before that, keep in mind she is going to be perceived as mean, not mean, she's not mean, she's perceived as disrespectful, multiple times. But I'm only going to give her 1 in chapter 6, and that's when, so she gets bathed, right, and she gets new clothes. The reason why she gets new clothes is her clothes fall apart once they are starting to be washed. She then basically throws a fit, saying that she wants her clothes back. They eventually show her ruined clothes, and it's just like, can you now put on the dress? She then gives them the silent treatment until she gets pants. It's not really said why she doesn't want dresses. Like, presumably it's so she can run away easier, but it's like, 1, you could say that, and 2, it's a little bit of a misogyny. Why are you so opposed to pants besides potentially might running away? Alice gives her some advice. We're going to go over the advice, and it is, don't trust your senses, keep your mouth shut. A loose tongue is going to be not advisable to you. And people are still upset because of what you did, basically. But she's like, Lucien, you can mess around with him, it's fine. So that's basically Alice giving her advice. She continuously gives her advice, basically also being like, your chaps will do nothing, later on in these chapters. But I want to give her a perceived meanness. In the first is 3, the same conversation, basically, right? The same information, just a little bit more being revealed, happens in 3 conversations. Okay. In the first one, she leaves basically to go get changed. She overhears Lucien basically say, like, this is what the cauldron dealt us, this is the hand, like, how could she have done it? Because Tamlin tells Lucien in that first conversation, yes, this person named Feyre ended the life with their friend. And Lucien, he can hardly blame it, but believe it. We're going to go straight into the second conversation. This second conversation is when we get the name Tamlin. In this conversation, Tamlin is both being mean to her and also flirting with her. Lucien is simply being mean. I describe the flirting as like awkward flirting, and the meanness is kind of coming from there. But also, she is still not showing any remorse for the actions that she has done, and still basically refers to herself as being stolen away instead of these are the consequences to her own actions. In this, she's basically told, hey, you don't have to stay here, literally at all. You can leave. I'm not keeping you prisoner. I don't keep enslaved folks. Like, the answer, I don't do it, right? As long as you say in Prythian, everything's cool. Well, and then she's like, okay, so do I need to, like, do anything? And he's like, no. Honestly, like, it's implied like you'd be more of a nuisance if she did try to help. So, like, kind of, still kind of be mean to her a little bit. Um, he, basically, she's saying they're rent free, and she can do anything she wants. Doing this is blatantly clear. She is not allowed to leave, though, that room until she has food. So, like, well, she can leave. In this conversation, she cannot leave until she has food. And I feel like, okay, why isn't she, like, is this like an implied threat? No, he magically restrains her, so to the point where she cannot move unless it is to eat. So, chapter 7 of book 1, Tamlin magically restrains Feyre. That's honestly, like, she gets called out by Lucien for not even being remorseful. That's that conversation for the most part. Later on, she misses her siblings, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to like take back a point. She's kind of, she's missing her siblings, and then she has a mean thought about Nesta, thinking that she's going to like basically scratch off the paint. And like, why would you think that? Like, sure, she was kind of mean to you, but like, you were also mean to her. And if she was gonna scratch it off, the kind of person that we will shown that Nessa is should have done it right in front of you. And then she also calls Tamlin pathetic, like his compliment, and I'm like, that's kind of mean. I'm gonna give you a mean counter there. She sets up a trap. Alice gives her harsh advice, which is just like, I could easily get to that shopping. Like, oh, you say you were just wanting time? Nah, that would not have given you any time, basically. So there is that. On page 69, Feyre has 4 mean points added to her. She has a mean thought about herself, a mean thought about her mother, a mean thought about Nesta. And then also she calls Tamlin a fairy bastard. Page 70 is something interesting. So she's going through the gardens at this point, right? And she mentions that Elaine, like a plant in her garden is hyacinth. Why do I mention this? Why is this important? Especially when I was like, I'm not going to really be mentioning anything that's not all that important to what we're looking for. And the reason why that's important is because hyacinth can be used as both medicinal purposes and as cosmetics. So she potentially could have been selling hyacinths, or potentially could have been selling medicine, and that would have brought in money. And it would make sense why she would not have that or have any hyacinths over the winter. Right? So maybe each sibling has something that they do to contribute. Right? And if it's like, well, if Feyre doesn't think about that, if that's not something Feyre's like, looking at or thinking that she's doing, because again, she doesn't think her sister is smart here, it wouldn't be brought up in a first-person POV of only Feyre, right? Okay, we're gonna get to the third conversation, which is where it's like 3 conversations happen. Those 2 chapters. We're gonna go to chapter 8. This is the first chapter in which I'm not really gonna give you anything from this chapter because it's not really important to what we're doing here. We learn Feyre does not like to hunt. She's kind of just doing it. And this Lucien is an emissary for Tamlin. She's like, I'm gonna try to get to Lucien to try to get me to leave, so I can leave, break the treaty some other way. Chapter 9. I'm gonna go here. So we have a lie. So the first lie that we had here is when she said she didn't have any hobbies. during the second conversation, I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. The second conversation was she was asked if she had any hobbies. She said no, immediately thought about paint. In this one, Tamlin's like, hey, do you want to spend some time together today? And she's like, no, I'm going to be alone. That's like she is looking for Lucien. Lie, another one. Um, Lucien is a chatty Cathy and does not really think anything of bringing her along his hunting trip, which is basically he's doing the job of his now deceased friend. Um, Tamlin, not Tamlin, Lucien, like calls him or calls Feyre out, basically being like, so like you're gonna try to get me to get Tamlin to release you from treaty, right? So is that what we're gonna do it now? Or we're gonna do it later, basically. And she's like, right. And he basically says, if it was up to me, you would no longer be in the land of the living. So you don't want it to be up to me. Um, she kind of messes around because she's like, okay, Alice said I can like mess with him, so it's fine. um, we learn about a creature called the Cereal. That's important because this creature will tell the truth, and if you capture it, you can ask it as many questions as you want. Basically, you should probably only do it one time. But if you capture it, it will tell you anything you want to know. And he's like, don't do it though. And because of basically what he is not saying about it and his worry about it, she's like, okay, so there's one close, right? So she's like, oh, I can potentially capture it so that way, like, I can figure out a way to get home. And then Lucien gets very, very scared, very nervous, tells her not to move, and he's like, I'm being really serious. That's when we're going to go into chapter 9. Um, we learned that what that thing was, and it was very scary for her, and even though he was like, do not look, he almost got what he wanted to happen to her in front of him. Lucien basically says in this, like, hey, that thing, you cannot kill it. You can't do it. Ashwood, it won't, you can't kill it. But she gets terrified at that. They go back to the manor. Lucien then realizes. So Tamlin didn't know that they were going to be together, and Tamlin's just like, "Oh, you wanted to be alone." But before the lie fully gets, said, Lucien is just like, "Hey, Tam, there's a bog here." He leaves to go and take care of it. And Vale was just like, well, I mean, you literally just said that hey, we couldn't kill it. And Lucius was like, no, you can't. He can. So everything's really tense. Tamlin, not back yet. Um, she goes to her room. It's nighttime. Okay, whatever. And she's looking out the window, right? And she's like, I don't want to be a part of the circus. Meanwhile, what she's literally doing. But she looks out, page 94, and it ends with, well, seeing her dad? Cool, cool, cool. Two creatures we now know about. They're very dangerous. Tamlin, he's gonna go off. He's gonna take care of the boss. In this story, by the end of these chapters, Feyre has only lied 3 times. She has been called a liar, I believe 2 times at this point. Perceived as mean, disrespectful. I'm gonna say at the end of this, I want to say 2 times. I feel like that is fair. Um, mean to others 14 times. And honestly, we're probably on the low end for that. Yeah, that's these chapters. I hope that you have had a wonderful time with this. This was just purely we're looking at chapters. Hope you have a good night or day whenever you're watching this, and goodbye.